Hi, my name's Thomas Hague, and this is Brian Delaney. We're co-founders of the Vanguard, the Center for Innovation and Entrepreneurship's latest publication on entrepreneurship.
And joining us here today is Mr. Bill Gross, the founder of the Pasadena-based startup incubator, Idealab.
Mr. Gross, can you tell us a little bit about how you got started with entrepreneurship?
Well, it was when I was a teenager, and I just fell in love with the idea of selling things at a profit. And I think it was mostly because I was really interested in woodworking when I took woodworking in 7th grade. And I wanted to buy some power tools. So I wanted to find some way to make money so I could earn my way to buy these power tools. And I found that the idea of manufacturing things, both with my hands and with these power tools, taking them to swap meets, and finding any way I could to build things that other people wanted brought me great joy. And that's what first got me started. And then I fell in love with technology as I grew up. And after I went to college, I became a technology entrepreneur for the rest of my life.
When you mentioned that you were a technology entrepreneur in college, what's your opinion on successful entrepreneurs such as Mark Zuckerberg and Bill Gates dropping out of college to pursue their ventures full time? Do you think this pressure is necessary or justified for college students pursuing a business right now?
I think it's good to finish college. I actually did take a year off between my sophomore and junior year to pursue my business, but then I went back and finished. I don't think that there's one rule that works for everybody, of course, and you can't doubt those two's incredible success. But I do feel that the experience of finishing college was very valuable for me actually in business. Not so much that I used my degree to actually achieve anything, but the process of learning how to get my finals done and the process of getting through all my classes turned out to be very valuable in business, because business is a whole series of tough challenges that you have to find a way to make with teamwork. And I found that the college experience was very valuable to me.
What about the network that you grew in college of friends, teachers? Did you ever utilize that after you graduated?
That was probably the most valuable thing I ever had. I probably hired over the years maybe 500 people from Caltech. And I certainly started after I graduated hiring 20 of my friends. And by being able to cherry pick the 20 smartest people that I liked the most at the 800 people at Caltech, that was the most valuable thing. So the network was amazing. The professors at Caltech, I used them in many of the business I worked on, either as advisors or consultants. The whole Pasadena community, which I met through Caltech. I mean, I'm still in Pasadena 32 years after graduating, all because of how good Pasadena has been to me, all because of the network that came out of Caltech.
So people often ask, what are common characteristics of entrepreneurs themselves? But we were wondering what you see as common successful characteristics of the companies.
Well, the common successful trait of companies, I would say, biggest success factor is adaptability, in the sense that the initial idea is not going to be the idea that wins in the end. And you take Facebook as an example. You're talking about Mark Zuckerberg. The initial idea was dating other people on campus, and now the idea is so much bigger than that. The adaptability of that management team, the ability for that management team to bring in other complementary skills. You look at Sheryl Sandberg joining Facebook. I don't think Facebook would be nearly as successful as it is if it were Mark Zuckerberg alone. And he was very fortunate to get some great VC backers early on who told him the things he didn't know, and most importantly, he listened. And he brought in the other people that balanced him. So I would say adaptability and a management team that has mutual trust and respect for one another and has all the complementary skills, has the well-rounded set of skills that's necessary for a company to succeed, which is not just technology vision. Technology vision will only get you so far. You need to have other things. And another example would be after Steve Jobs returned to Apple, his relationship with Tim Cook, who was a master operator, who helped Apple build a supply chain of price control and innovation and manufacture that was unparalleled. I don't think Steve Jobs could have done that alone. So he really had the duality of skills that were necessary to make a company successful. I would say that's a common trait of successful companies.
So in the past, have you found that individuals decide that they are entrepreneurs and then transition towards creating companies, or do they often create these ideas and then before they know it, they have a company on their hands and then they're an entrepreneur?
I think both. I really think it's both. I think that the drive comes from a passion to solve a world problem or a personal problem. A personal problem could develop into a world problem. I mean, again, take the Facebook example. Mark Zuckerberg was trying to solve a personal problem. He wanted to meet the other people on campus. I think you need to have that initial drive. I don't think Mark Zuckerberg, when he did that, knew he was going to be an entrepreneur. He was just trying to do something that he needed and wanted. Along the way, he surrounded himself with other people. It became investors. There became monetization opportunities. There became 1 million users. You know, all the apocryphal and true stories that happened in the evolution of Facebook. I think that just having a passion to solve something important, even if that's only important to you, is the germ, is the seed of the idea. Entrepreneurship comes when you then try to organize that into a successful venture. And I think that there are different skills required for that. That almost comes second to the idea.
So coming up with the ideas for these businesses, is it just a matter of keeping your eyes open to these problems you see throughout the day, or do you personally sit down and focus on a certain area and then try and narrow down an idea, actively seek out an idea?
There are many ways. I'll tell you the way I do it, which is not the only way, and then the way some other people do it. The way I do it is I look for problems that I face personally that can be solved with technological innovation, and then I try and figure out what technological innovation could uniquely solve that in a way that hasn't been done before, and is that enough of a benefit to the way it's been done before to justify building a business out of it. And I'll do a lot of testing to figure out if there's a business there. Another very viable way a lot of people do is technology first and idea second. So there are many institutions that have professors, graduate students coming up with patents on new ideas to do things in search of a problem. So a new technique is available, maybe a new way to illuminate something, or a new way to look at DNA, and then now, where's the business in that? So sometimes it starts with technology first, and then where's the opportunity to deploy that? In fact, sometimes schools have technology licensing departments specifically to take that technology that has in search of a business. So both are completely equally viable. And I think it all comes from what perspective the founder has to bring to a particular problem. I love coming up with the problem first and looking at the problem and trying to come up with a technology solution second, but that's not the only way by any means.
What are your feelings on the community? I know you mentioned this quite a bit.
Yeah.
How do you feel about Pasadena, Silicon Beach? Do you see Silicon Beach in Southern California eventually becoming a major player in the world tech landscape?
I do. I think community is an important part because I think entrepreneurs need other people to lean on, they need other people to recruit from, and they need role models to emulate. LA has always had a challenge because it's so large. We don't have a density that some other places or that Silicon Valley has. We're very spread out. You know, it takes an hour to get across, or in traffic, 2 hours to get across. But we're starting to build pockets of density. So there's a pocket of density in Pasadena, a pocket of density in Santa Monica, a pocket of density in El Segundo, and so on, pocket of density in Venice. So I think that is wildly helpful to have those pockets of density. And I think that we graduate in LA, I believe, more engineers from the colleges in this area than any other area in the nation. So we have the talent here, and then we also have, of course, with the Hollywood studios and with the aerospace industry and with JPL, we have so much depth of technical expertise alongside so much marketing and e-commerce expertise, and of course, with Hollywood, we're the storytellers for the earth. So we have great monetization, advertising, storytelling capabilities that can be embedded into businesses. So I think LA is an incredible fertile ground for entrepreneurship and for startups. And I think it's only coming into its own now. I think we're probably second in the country right now. I don't know if we'll beat Silicon Valley because Silicon Valley is amazing, but that we're second in the country and probably second in the world is amazing.
You mentioned the idea of young companies having the opportunity to look up to established companies.
Yes.
What would be a company or a figure that, when you were looking back on your past, when you were starting Idealab, that not necessarily idolized, but...
For me, the company that I idolized was Lotus. Now, it wasn't an LA-based company, but it was a Boston-based company. I idolized them because Mitch Kapoor, who was the founder, was a young founder. He had a very innovative idea. He was very bold in taking it forward, and he built a very big, successful software company fast. I think Lotus I admired more than Microsoft at the time. Of course, at that time, Microsoft was a relatively small company. Microsoft wasn't public yet. And Microsoft was mostly a languages company, actually. It was BASIC and DOS. And only much later did they become an applications company. And then with Windows, of course, they were always the operating system. But Lotus was this killer application company that made really, really useful applications and had grown very large, and also was a very forward-thinking company. It was one of the first forward-thinking companies in terms of employee rights. They had, I think they were maybe one of the first companies in the country to give gay partners health care. They were just very forward-thinking on every front. And I really admired that company. I looked up to it. And I remember one time they were one of the Inc. award winners, Inc. magazine award winners. Is one of the fastest growing companies. And Mitch Kapor, as the CEO and founder, came to Los Angeles, downtown LA, and gave a talk. And I went and saw him, and I saw Richard Thalheimer, the founder of Sharper Image, and a few other companies there. But I remember seeing Mitch and just being really, really impressed, and said, someday I would like to be an entrepreneur like that. I mean, that was a real role model that I had. It was very, and someday, eventually, I got to work for him because he acquired one of my companies 5 years later. And I got to work in the office next to him, so it was really fantastic that I had a chance to both idolize him, but then work with him very closely one day.
What's in the future for Idealab?
Well, we are working very hard to make this model of entrepreneurship and this model of company creation permanent and self-sustaining. We've been in business for 17 years now. I'd like to be in business for another 17. I'd like to find a way that we can hand this off to another generation of entrepreneurs someday. But I also want to try and scale this model so other people can copy it and emulate it, because I feel that fostering entrepreneurship is a great way to help mankind. So I want other people to learn from our mistakes, help them start more companies, and help other incubators and accelerators learn from anything that we've done, because I don't feel it's competition in the slightest. Like sometimes a new accelerator opens and people call us up and go, what do you think about this opening in Los Angeles? Is that going to be a problem? I go, no, not a problem. The more the better. I want more of this to happen. That'd be like saying another company opened in the city. Is that competition? No, of course not. I mean, there's so much room for more companies. And certainly company creation, there's a dearth of companies doing that. So it's not like there's competition. So I want to try and find, for the next, say, 2 decades of Idealab, a way to scale and a way to have other people learn from our mistakes so that they can scale the Idealab model to other geographies.
So for college students who are looking to perhaps get involved with Idealab, do you guys have internships?
Oh,
or
yes.
How do you go about
So
that?
every summer we have 30 people come in from colleges around the area and around the country as interns. We also have 25 companies that are hiring people all the time, so both as interns but also as full-time employees after they graduate. So we are looking for people both at the companies and at Idealab itself, both in the idea evaluation process, in the company starting process, and then to actually work in the companies to help grow them.